Yeah, people. Yeah, I'm kind of on a rant this morning. I'm on a roll here. You know, another thing, like you've heard me say, for the greater good. Everything should be run for the greater good. That's how I should run my personality. That's how we should run our businesses. That's how we should run the government. That's how we should run international affairs. You know, everybody should adopt for the greater good, which includes thinking 7 generations ahead. Now, let's just say, telling the future, a possible future. Let's just say that the most intelligent young people got into government. They adopted this philosophy of for the greater good. And instead of us making war on everybody, we decided, how about this idea? We decided to use diplomacy to make peace with everybody and promote for the greater good all over the world and try to get other countries to understand for the greater good, which, you know what, already there's a lot of countries that are kind of like that. They want to be that way. They would welcome for the greater good, you know and America is always setting the example, because we're the biggest economy in the world. So one of them, China's catching up real quick, and China's doing better than us right now. But okay, so if we like we got to back up, we got to back up, and we cut our military budget in half because you still need a military just in case, because there's always going to be foolish men in leadership that are going to be troublemakers. So we have to, we have to be careful. But if we promote this diplomacy of for the greater good, man, we could recover from this global hostility in, just several years. And when you set the example, it's the big brother syndrome. If big brother is a good guy, your chances of being a good kid are a lot better. If big brother's a bad guy, your chances of being a bad kid are a lot better, worse, whatever, more prevalent. Anyway, so that's the syndrome here, and so that's a possible future. But man, we got to get good people in government. We got to reform everything, like almost every aspect. Yeah, we gotta get into equity. We gotta tax the shit out of the rich. China has high-speed trains. China got 800 million people. They brought them out of poverty. And now their technology is advanced beyond ours, and they're trying to do good. They're helping Africa. They're helping the world. They're like the good guys now. They're the good guys, and now we're being hated. And it's because of our attitude. It's because of the philosophy that our government has adopted. Like we're gonna be strong and bully the world, and we'll take whatever we want, and we're gonna be the boss. Well, that's how you run into resistance, and that's how other people become mean and malicious. You get what you put out, man. Right? We know this. It's karma. It's yin and yang and all that crap. You if you want good things to happen, you got to be a good person, right? You got to be kind of nice to others. And I can see this as a possible future. But man, we got to get on it. We got to join together, you know, as good people, and we can only vote for good people, you know, and we gotta tell our congressmen and stuff. We gotta call them up and tell them, no, don't do that, and yes, do this, and this is what we want, and you know, we gotta really like show up in numbers to make things better. And once again, you know, I heard this, I think it was on Jimmy Dore, and what a great idea. Hey, I can't get it out of my head. If the truckers union, the airline union, and the railroad union, if they got together and we make up this list of, you know, universal health care, you know, get rid of the tax cap, $180,000 tax cap on Social Security, raise it to the roof, get rid of Citizens United laws, you know, term limits, even cut their Congress's pension funds. Yeah, cut those by 50%. They get way too much money for the rest of their lives. You know, it's just not fair, you know. And cut the military budget by 50%, you know. Like, there's a lot of things that we could do. You put that together, and then the truckers and everybody say, these are our do this. Government, you do this. We're not going to move anything until you adopt this. You know, that would work. Like, that would work. Nobody has to die. Nobody has to fight. Everybody just has to stay home from work and demand that our government change. Have an intelligent list of demands. I don't know who's going to put that all together, you know. I gave you just a couple ideas, you know. They'd have to get lawyers and everybody to write it up, professional writers to write it up and everything. But there's a lot of things that are actually simple, you know. Get rid of loopholes, you know. Change the tax system, you know. Like, you know, no tax on your first $50,000, you know, and we'll tax the rich instead. That's a good idea. You make over $400,000, you're taxed at 95%, you know. Like, it's easy to fix everything. And I believe the only thing, you know, I mean, this was an idea that I heard, and sounds like it would work. I don't know, you know, maybe not. But, you know, if the unions get together and say, we're not going to work, the government has to listen up, right? They just have to listen. So that's an interesting idea, you know, one possible future. Because right now, our future is looking bad, man. You know, we're in a war we cannot win. There's no way to win that unless you nuke them, and that's a bad idea, right? And the longer, every day that this goes on, and everything they bomb, every oil well they bomb, it's just backing up our economy, backing it up. Like, it's going to be years before gas prices go down again. You know, we're using up our strategic reserve. We're in an insane situation. Iran is now a global power. That's just the way it is. And they do have control of that strait. And if they want to charge tolls, that's the way it's going to be. And you know what? It's okay. You know, what has been done to them already is, you know, worth whatever, trillions of dollars. So, you know, they need the money. And they could charge tolls. You know, hopefully they'll be reasonable. And you know what? If everybody else is reasonable, they'll be reasonable. You know, if we promote, you know, logic and reason and goodwill, diplomacy, I think it's called diplomacy. If we utilize that, People get along a lot better, you know. I always said the greatest manipulation of all is the truth, you know. If you're honest and sincere and ask for and be reasonable and stuff, you can get along a lot better. And that goes for countries, governments. Okay, I'm just ranting as usual, but just some shit to think about. Like somebody else said that stuff and it's been tossing around in my head, and it's like, yeah, those are feasible ideas. Okay, I'm out.